The Gainesville City Commission makes its wish list for transportation projects. First on the TV 20 News at 6, why the almost unanimous decision has one commissioner riled up. You can expect more from 911 dispatchers during your time of need, how they plan to raise your chances of survival when it comes to life or death.
And Post Springs is not flowing the way it used to, and that has some environmentalists worried. Those stories and more. Your News at 6 starts now.
Now, from your local source, TV 20 News at 6 in high definition.
Good evening. We begin 10 minutes of nonstop news tonight from downtown Gainesville at the City Commission meeting.
Commissioners voted 6-1 today on a list of projects to be built with money from 2 transportation sales taxes going before Alachua County voters in November. That would include 3/4 of a cent for roads and 1/4 of a cent for transit projects. TV 20's Duke Carter is live at City Hall right now. Duke, one commissioner is not pleased with that project list.
That's exactly right, Dave. Commissioner Todd Chase is not pleased with that list at all. He actually spoke for about 2 hours, saying that there's too much cost uncertainty and not enough data to support the projects. The list actually includes like 7 lists like bus rapid transit and facility and new projects. And Chase said in that meeting that the list doesn't specify exactly what each project means. He argues if the average citizen looks at that list, that they will not know what they could be voting for in November.
So that's how I feel. That's why it's important to me. This is a significant vote, in my opinion, because we are saying this is what we think citizens should pay this tax for. And those are my thoughts.
Public work officials said the reason why the list is condensed to only 7 items is because it could allow future commissions to adjust it. For example, if the list was actually specified for funding for Bus Route 75 and they wanted to change it, well, sorry, they can only use funding for only Bus Route 75. And if voters actually approve the projects on the November ballot, well, the city can start seeing money coming in around January 2013. And that's the story for now. Reporting live in downtown Gainesville, Duke Carter, TV 20 News.
The Postal Service is moving ahead with a $2.1 billion cost-saving plan. The consolidation will start in July. The cuts will be limited this year, with 48 offices slated to consolidate or close in July and August, impacting 5,000 employees. When the plan is fully in place by the end of 2014, 229 plants will consolidate or close. 28,000 jobs will be lost. For you, what does it mean? Well, slower mail delivery in 2014.
All those people who called 911 to report that massive chain reaction crash on I-75 in January weren't just talking to dispatchers, they were talking to somebody who could provide medical guidance for people who are hurt. In what may be the worst time of your life, the person on the other end of the phone line may make the difference between life and death. TV 20's Yatermi Farinas is here. Yatermi, dispatchers handle the beginning of the emergency, but usually don't know the outcome of the emergency.
That's right, Dave. As soon as paramedics get on the scene, the dispatcher hangs up the phone. Most of the time, they don't know what happened to the caller. Instead, it's on to the next call.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
Every day, these people answer a wide range of calls, from minor problems to life-threatening situations.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
They're usually the first people you speak to when you have an emergency, and they're also the first ones to give you medical attention. It just happens to be over the phone.
I'm going to tell you how to stop the bleeding. Listen carefully to make sure we do it right.
Lindsay Hilton is an Alachua County dispatcher. She uses the Emergency Medical Dispatcher Reference System, which helps her give life-saving directions.
Helps us to explain to people, be my hands for me. I need you to do this for me.
Jim Lanier is the Technical Services Division Manager at the Sheriff's Office. He says the time between the call for help and the arrival of paramedics is crucial for the victim.
We have kept the blood circulating and kept the patient viable. In other words, it gives EMS some more to work with. In other words, gives the patient a better chance of survival.
How the crisis finally plays out is something Hilton will most likely never know once she hangs up that 911 call.
We want to know if we helped that person or what happened to you. And
these dispatchers are CPR certified. Hilton told us she picks up about 40 911 calls a day. Yatermi Farinas, TV 20 News.
Law enforcement organizations across the state today reiterated their commitment to supporting officers who also serve in the National Guard or the Reserves. Ceremonies signifying support took place in 7 cities. In Tallahassee, a judge thanked the law enforcement commanders for their support.
Our reserve forces and guard forces spend more time away from the workplace than any of us can imagine, and you all know that as their employers. And yet you all have stepped forward and said, count me in. Count me in. We will support these men and women.
State law requires public employers to hold jobs for those serving in the Guard or reserves. He was the one who got away until this week. Levy County Sheriff's deputies finally make an arrest after a long investigation. At the start of this month, deputies searched the home of 30-year-old Ted Williams on Northeast 212th Court in Williston. They arrested several people and found drugs and cash inside that home. Williams somehow managed to get away and has been on the run since then, but tonight he's under arrest. He's facing drug possession charges. His bond is set at $320,000.
Once again today, a lot of clouds over north central Florida, but unlike the last couple of days, not everybody got rain.
Bill, how does it look for the weekend?
You know, I think the weekend's going to look better and better. We're going to stay fairly mild as far as temperatures go, but then next week it's really going to warm up again. Take a look out there, see what we have for this afternoon. Look very carefully out in the distance. You'll see the clouds really building up. Watch this thunderstorm just explode in the atmosphere there, and then it just collapses and heads down, but there's still the chance of a few more thunderstorms out there. We're looking to the south and east on that sky cam, and when we look into the storm vision, you'll be able to see some of that back out to the south and east here. The thunderstorm that had built up in parts of Putnam County just fell apart as it moved past Interlochen, and right now heading to Lake George, and it'll be continuing to push off to the south and east. Parts of northeastern Marion County near Eureka might see a little bit of rainfall with this, but most areas probably going to remain relatively dry. Evening forecast, temperatures in the low 80s for another hour or so, and then we drop into the mid 70s into the low 70s with the rain coming to an end tonight. Not as much chance of rain. Tomorrow we'll be watching the sea breeze again. More on that in a few minutes.
There is an ominous warning to report tonight about a popular springs. Environmental workers say Poe Springs could dry up as early as this summer. The county is repairing part of the park, so the springs are currently closed to swimmers. But TV 20's Kyla Ryan reports some are warning that it's possible the springs will never reopen.
It's a little low right now. It's slow. Some of the springs are slow because the water's low.
If you want to be one with nature, it's certainly the time to do it at Poe Springs. Scott Tonnelier of Gainesville was among only 3 visitors we saw today. He's been visiting the spring for 45 years, but a new threat may harm it.
Well, unfortunately, Poe Springs, the flow out of the springs has been going down, and really the last few weeks it's been drastically dropping.
Alachua County Environmental Protection Director Chris Bird says it should be flowing at 30 million gallons a day, and right now that number is at a mere 500,000.
We don't have any records that show that that's happened before. Large amounts of water continue to be pumped out of the aquifer, and there's not enough rain to replace the water being pumped out. We're seeing the aquifer level, the groundwater level, drop to the point that these springs stop.
As you can see behind me, some of the algae has already started to come to the surface, and experts say if it does stop flowing, that's what the entire place will be covered with, and you can't swim in it because of the bacteria.
It's almost like a swimming pool without chlorine.
Tonnelier says he's noticed this algae and a change in the flow.
It's, yeah, it might be the slowest I've ever seen.
And Bird says it won't pick up anytime soon unless we get more rain, or more importantly, unless less water is pumped out of the aquifer by residents, farmers, and businesses.
I hope for the rain.
And if we don't get that rain, Bird says decision makers will have to decide which water they value the most. Kyla Ryan, TV 20 News.
Nearby Hornsby Springs has stopped flowing and is closed to swimmers there. They had to construct a swimming pool for visitors because they couldn't count on the springs to flow. Paige?
Home insurance is certainly a must in Florida, especially when sinkholes and hurricanes can strike at any time.
Coming up, we'll tell you why one insurance company wants to discourage new customers from applying for policies. We'll explain when the TV 20 News at 6 returns.